Hi friends, this is the Faith Stuff and Pixie Dust podcast, where we will talk about all things Jesus and, I bet you guessed it, Disney. Together, we'll discover how the whole world of Disney can point us to the creativity, joy, and love of God, and why Disney can be a part of your family's legacy for years and years to come. For our family, God often shows up and reveals new things about himself to us through the Disney movies we watch on a Friday movie night, trips we take to Disney World together, and just in normal everyday conversations about life. And I know he can do the same for you. No matter where you are at in your faith journey, you've got a friend in me here at Faith Stuff and Pixie Dust. Now, for today's episode. This is the first episode of the Faith Stuff and Pixie Dust podcast. Hey everybody, my name is Emily and I am your host, your fellow Disney nerd, Disney adult. We are coming to you from Nashville, Tennessee, and I just have to put out a little disclaimer. It is 4th of July weekend, so we're trying to work around fireworks. People start setting them off. It's July 1st. And I'm like, people are just having a heyday with these fireworks already, but that's fine. And 2, allergies in the middle of summer. Like, I thought it was over allergies, and I just realized if I am going to wait to record podcast for when allergies aren't a thing, I would have like maybe 2 months to do all of the episodes. So I wanted to do this first podcast. Actually, my husband suggested it. He's kind of co-producing the whole thing. He will be on the podcast in future episodes. But he had the idea, like, do the first episode, introduce yourself, kind of explain the whole deal. So that's what I'm going to do. Some things to know about me from the very start. But if you couldn't figure it out from the name, the description, or the trailer, the first thing is I am a Christian. I love Jesus. He is my very favorite topic of conversation. And he is my ultimate why in all things. And I just hope that this podcast is pleasing to him, brings him glory, and is what he wants me to do. Because, like I said in my trailer, I really feel like he gave me the idea anyway, and he gave me the passion for all of these things that we're going to talk about, and the revelation. So I just really love Jesus. And I am thoroughly obsessed with my family. My husband Mitchell and my daughter Joelle, they are magic. I love them. I love our life, and I love going to Disney with them. I love experiencing Disney movies with them, and oh my gosh, they're just the best. I'm a full-fledged Disney nerd, hence this podcast. What else should you know about me? The fireworks at Magic Kingdom make me cry like a baby every single time. And if you think I'm exaggerating, I'm really not. You can even ask Mitchell. The last time we were there, I needed to take like a few minutes after the fireworks were over, to just like compose myself, really, like pull myself together. And people were looking all around, looking at me, like moving on to their next thing. And this girl looks at me and she whispers to her friend, not whispers, she says it loud enough for me to hear. She says, "See, you're not the only one who cries," like referencing me. So it's pretty obvious that I cry at the fireworks. Another thing to know, and we'll talk about this in future episodes, a future episode, is how watching Moana literally changed my life. It came out, I can't even remember the year, 2017 maybe, 2016, 2017-ish. And it was life-changing. Frozen 2 is probably our family favorite movie. If we had to collectively pick a favorite movie as a family, at least right now, we kind of overdid it. When Joelle was really into Frozen, she still is, but she was first introduced to Frozen. We watched it all the time. So I think we might have overdone it a little bit, but it's still probably our favorite family Disney movie currently. Christmas time is my absolute favorite time of year to be at Disney. I've only been to Disney like actually for Christmas a couple of times. One I don't really remember because it was right after my dad had passed away. But the second time was last year. Mitchell tried to surprise me. We'll have him tell the story. for Christmas last year, and it was literally, anytime you go to Disney is magical, but at Christmas, whoa. My little Disney quirk that I'll tell you about, and people who are on video can see. For those of you who are listening to just the podcast audio, I will explain, or attempt to explain. I have an ever-growing ear collection, and if that freaks you out, I need to explain what kind of ear I'm talking about. I'm talking about Minnie Mouse ears, so I'm not a creep. I have different Minnie Mouse ears. They're different from different movies. Like I have Moana ears. I just got the live action Little Mermaid ears, and they are amazing. I have some ears from Mouse School Shop. Shout out to the ones in the very front. For those on video, those are the Main Street Barbie ears. Yeah, girl named them because she had a little contest on name these ears, and she picked mine. So those are the Main Street Barbie ears that I named. So I had to display them. We have the Maribel ears from Encanto. Oh my gosh. So yeah. Anyway, that's kind of explains for those of you on video and are like, wow, she has a lot of ears going on. Yeah, I do. And I just love it. And so I kind of had an idea. Obviously, right now I'm wearing ears. I'm wearing my lovely pink floral, and they're kind of like Valentine's Day ears, but I really honestly will wear them all year long because they just match my personality so well, I think, and they're my favorite color. And I'm going to have, when guests come on, as you can see, I have another chair that's not occupied at the moment, but there will be guests in future episodes where they will get to pick their own ears and kind of explain why they chose what they chose. So that's kind of a fun little thing we gonna have coming. Just a little preview that was for free. Kind of a fun way to add in some pixie dust magic. So I thought for this it would be kind of fun to start kind of where the podcast all began. And it was honestly something that I just felt kind of impressed on my heart a couple of years ago. It was really when we started thinking about watching Disney movies with Joelle. She was probably 1 at the time, and taking her to Disney for the first time and all that kind of stuff. I just kind of felt like, man, I didn't really think about podcasts back then, but it was just kind of like, man, it'd be really nice. Like maybe I'll start a blog or something where I can talk about just how important some of these conversations are and how good these movies are and all that stuff. And Mitchell was totally on board to help me. And I think he might have been the one who actually suggested it could be a podcast. I didn't think that it could be. So Mitchell was a really big encourager from the very beginning about this. And he told me, in his ever so loving but firm way, just stop being scared and just do it. I also had some friends who I shared the idea with, and they, have been championing me like, when is it coming out? We're so excited. You should do this. You should do this. And I'm like, I'm not a podcaster. I can't do that. But here we are. So anything's possible. You'll hear from some of those encouraging friends in future episodes. Hopefully they'll agree to be on. But in today's episode, I really just want to share a background about the faith stuff, as well as my history and experience with Disney, hence the pixie dust. So kind of putting it all together on where I came up with the name, which I really didn't come up with the name. It was a labor of love and a collaborative effort. But anyway, so my history with Disney, I grew up going as a kid, not as much as we go now, but I remember, I don't remember my first trip, actually. I was going to say I remember, but I don't remember my first trip to Disney. I was, oh gosh, my mom might correct me on this, but I was around 2 of the time, and I had just been really, really sick in the hospital. It was a really traumatic illness, I guess. I don't remember it, thankfully, but from what I hear, it was just really, really bad. And so they took us to Disney after all that had happened. And I don't know how it happened. Maybe I'll have my grandma on the podcast to tell the story, or my mom. But somehow they pulled strings to make me the Grand Marshal of the parade. Now, I don't know if they still do that. I don't think they do. But at that time, this was 1994 or 1995. I can't remember. So it was a long time ago. But they made me the Grand Marshal of the parade because I guess they gave them some sob story about how I was sick and almost died, and now I'm here at Disney, and so it was really So I guess my first trip to Disney was really magical, and based on the pictures, it was. But then we went a little bit later, and when I was maybe 7 or 8, and I remember that trip because I remember that was the first one like where I actually like could remember and recall things. I thought the Ariel's Grotto was so cool, and I still think it's cool. But one of my core memories from that trip was meeting Cinderella and Prince Charming earlier in the day. And then they told me about this thing that they do that I don't think they do anymore. They don't do anymore. Was that at the end of the parade, Cinderella and Prince Charming come down from their float and they dance with people in the street. And Prince Charming asked me, as a 7 or 8-year-old girl, if I would dance with him after the parade. Now, I don't know why I remember this, but I remember thinking like when it was time for it to happen, and he like recognized me and said, okay, like you're like, we're gonna, I thought I was gonna be the only one that danced with him. That wasn't true. He had asked multiple people. And I was a little bit peeved about that. I don't know why that sticks out in my mind, but I just remember being really peeved about that. Being like, excuse me, Prince Charming, why did you ask other people to dance with you? Hello. And also being like, how does Cinderella feel about this? And also like, Cinderella, he asked me to dance for a reason. Obviously, like, your skills must not be up to par or something. I don't know. I just remember being really kind of salty about it. But anyway, that was just a fun core memory. And then our next trip to Disney was, with my family before I met Mitchell, was for my senior year trip, my graduation trip. I wanted to go to Disney. So we went with my 2 brothers, my parents. We stayed at Caribbean Beach, and it was amazing. I still look at the photos from that trip sometime. I got this really adorable, cute, like pink polka dot dress. They call it my Minnie Mouse dress. I hung on to that dress until like 2 years ago. So I had that in my closet for like 12 years. And so I just remember that trip just, all of it just being really, really like awesome. I can't even think of a specific memory. The fireworks were still a thing, but they weren't like they are now. But yeah, just really loving that time together with my family. So anyway, now we go as adults. Well, we bring our daughter, but Mitchell and I also love going alone. So I have a pretty blessed experience with Disney, I guess I'll say. I have lots of very fond memories. So Disney has always been a very like positive part of my life. And obviously I grew up with the movies like, everyone kind of did. Grew up with Disney Channel and all that, but that's another story. We'll get into all those movies later. So now I just want to share briefly about like kind of like how the faith piece plays into it and like my faith as I was growing up too, because that, I'm growing up with Disney, but also I'm growing up in a Christian home. We went to church at United Methodist Church in a small town in Minnesota. We were very, very involved as a family growing up. We were sometimes the first ones there, most of the time the last ones to leave on a Sunday morning. Very involved. My mom was involved in music. I was involved in music at one point. Sunday school. My dad was a Sunday school teacher, like the whole shebang. Just a very big family affair. I had a really great friend in school. Her name was Amanda. Shout out to Amanda if you're listening. I really hope you are. I'm going to share this podcast with you. But she lived like across the field from us. So she was like my bestie. And her dad was a pastor at a church that they lived right next door to. There was a lot of churches in our small town, which is kind of a thing, I realized. A lot of small churches in small towns. But anyway, I digress. But anyway, so she was a really great friend of mine. We played together all the time. We hung out all the time. And I'm pretty sure it was late middle school. She could correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm remembering it as late middle school. I would go to her youth group several times. And I really just loved her youth group. At the time, my church really didn't have like that sort of like youth group experience. The church was basically in our backyard, so it was a really easy invite. She said, "You want to come to youth group?" Yeah, okay. Parents would let me go. Her mom was actually my confirmation mentor because in our church, you're baptized as an infant. And then I think in 8th grade, I believe it is, you go through what's confirmation, which is basically like, yep, my parents had me baptized when I was a kid. I'm basically confirming all that. I'm confirming like, yep, I love Jesus, basically. And so Becky was my mentor. Like they have you go through a class before that. It's like 2 years of confirmation. And Becky was my mentor. And I chose her because she was just a big part of my my life. I spent a lot of time at her house. I knew her pretty well. And she just helped me make sense of a lot of things about what it like truly meant to be a Christian. And so shout out to Becky Dobler. You are amazing and I love you. But anyway, so it was during the summer. Amanda and her youth group leaders at the time, she had invited me to camp, and I had been to a couple of other camps. I'd been to horse camp. I had been to treehouse camp through my church. So but I didn't really know what like this type of camp was going to be. And so to make a long story short, it was at that camp experience where I experienced what it was to begin a personal relationship with Jesus and kind of letting him to every area of my life. I really didn't understand that concept of, oh, he can be close and he's real right now. It's not just for when I get to heaven or not. And it's not this far off thing, but he can be an intimate friend and you can have a relationship with him and you need a relationship with him and all of that. And I just knew that he was real, not just in theory, but in experience. So that was life changing to say the least. And I went back 2 summers, I think, to that camp. And I still remember it. And I still think about Sandhill Lake Bible Camp so much. I think about it very often. I think about the path we took down to the chapel. I think about what the chapel looked like, what it smelled like. I just remember it so vividly because it was such a pivotal moment in my life. The lake and just all the stuff, the challenges we had to do during rec time, which I absolutely hated. But anyway, so after that experience at camp, I went home and just devoured all I could read. I read my Bible. I had my dad take me to the Christian bookstore, which was an hour away, but he loved going there. And he got me a Bible. It was the Real Images Girls Bible. And I just remember reading it, and I would read books and they encouraged me. And so from that moment on, my faith and my relationship with Jesus really became the most important thing in my life. So that was pretty radical experience. But meanwhile, all this was going on. Everyone who knew me knew that I had this, knew that I loved all things Disney, and that never really went away. So Belle was always my favorite princess growing up because she gave me permission to just get lost in books, to love reading so much. And I was the weird girl who would sit in the hallway and read books during school. And during recess, my teachers would yell at me being hey, go run out some energy, go play. And I'm why are they mad? I'm literally reading a book. But now as a parent, I understand they needed me to be running around, but I just wanted to read. I loved reading. I loved stories. I loved getting lost in books. And Belle, obviously, she got a library. Hello. We'll talk about that movie more. I will dive into all the problematic things that, people are Belle's your favorite princess? Yes, she's my favorite princess. She's amazing. And how she just sings this song about longing for adventure. I mean, that was me. I just really resonated with her and I just loved her so much. And I still do. I have Belle ears, but they are not on the wall. Sorry. Anyway, so Belle was my favorite princess growing up. And she still is. And I also remember in high school, when Tangled came out. I don't know why I vividly just remember Tangled, but for some reason I do. I was really good friends with a foreign exchange student when Tangled came out. She was a foreign exchange student from France named Val. She was staying with my friend JC at the time. Val, if you're listening, I love you so much. I thought it was actually really cool because Belle was from France and Val came from France. So I thought that was always really cool. But anyway, I remember in high school when I was really good friends with her, Tangled came out and we would watch Tangled all the time. And I don't know why it was so fun for us, but it just was. So in the few months she was here, I remember Tangled kind of being all the rage. Yeah, I'm rambling, but all that to say, I've always been a big fan of Disney. And even after having the experience where my relationship with Jesus really became my own and became real, I was still a Disney girl, would have themed notebooks and just a Disney nerd. I don't really want to embarrass myself too much. There's plenty of more podcast episodes for that, but I just loved it. So fast forward to today. So that's kind of a long spiel about growing up and how I've gotten to where I am. But now fast forward, we go to a non-denominational church here in the Nashville area. I've learned so much in the 7 or 8 years about and experienced so much about having a relationship with Jesus and the Holy Spirit and all that. I got water baptized as an adult, kind of as my way of saying, this is my decision to follow Jesus, and gave him my entire life. We lead a co-group here of other amazing families who we love so much. And we just take every opportunity to share Jesus and also talk about all things Disney. I mean, our friends can attest to this. We are very much the friends that always think it is the right time to take a Disney trip. Oh, you're celebrating something? Go to Disney. Oh, you two need an anniversary trip? Oh, you two should go to Disney alone. I just said to my friend Mallory the other day, I said, so I really think we need a girls trip. Should we go to Disney? So we are always encouraging everyone. You got to go as an adult, but take your kids, go as a couple. We are either the best influences or the worst influences, depending on how you look at it, but that's neither here nor there. So we love talking about Jesus and we love talking about Disney. Some of my most significant moments looking back in recent years that I can think about at Disney World, we went with some friends from a previous church. When I was pregnant with Joelle, I was really newly pregnant. So I was just kind of starting to maybe tell people, but not really. But I knew that I wanted to take pregnancy pictures there. I wasn't showing or anything, but I wanted to take our announcement pictures there. This was the second time Mitchell and I had been as adults, and it was just a really sweet time. I remember going to get our little personalized, I should have them out, but I don't. But we had the little classic Mickey and Minnie ears, or Mickey ears, where you can get them embroidered. But we were at Disney Springs and I was looking for those, and they said the only place that sells them is the Christmas shop. And it was on the opposite side of where we were. So we ran there this 5-week pregnant woman running through Disney Springs to get these. And obviously I tell them that what I need, and they're so gracious. The cast members are so amazing. They were like, yes, we'll do that for you. So they get them done. And it was the first item that I had gotten that said mom on it. So when she handed me the mom ears, I audibly sobbed, audibly sobbed in the store, because it was the first thing that had said mom on it that I was going to have. And it was just, oh my gosh, it was so meaningful. So anyway, our beautiful friend McKenna, shout out to McKenna Brook Photo, took photos for us, and they were, oh my gosh, I still look at them sometimes and think, what in the heck? These are amazing. But anyway, so we announced our pregnancy from Disney World. Well, we took photos and then used those to announce it. Last February, Mitchell and I also took a trip that was just the two of us, just to kind of get away and reconnect as a couple. We went to Disney, and while we were there, he got me I'm not wearing it right now because it makes a lot of noise on the table when I'm recording, but it was this most beautiful Pandora charm bracelet, and it's now one of my most treasured possessions. Literally, I love it so much. I look down on it and I wear it every day. That just makes me so happy. It's so full of charms already. And we add a charm to it, when we take a trip or something significant happens. So it's just, it's so special. We took Joelle for the first time to Disney last September during the hurricane, y'all. So we had 5 days before the hurricane came, and then 2 days in our hotel room, shelter in place from Hurricane Ian. Thankfully, we were all safe. Thankfully, everyone was safe, and it was amazing. And we had 5 good days before that, but that was memorable. And then bringing it full circle this year, just a couple months ago, we became annual pass holders. So for 2023 and beyond, Lord willing, we are at Disney annual pass holders. So going lots, having lots to share. So yeah, that's some of our most memorable moments, or my most memorable moments of recent going to Disney. Some of the impactful, so I want this podcast to be about, it's going to be about all things Disney and all things faith. So really there's no formula for where it's going to go. It's just going to be really fun conversations, meaningful conversations, hopefully, but really just sharing about Disney World and Disney movies. So it was truly after becoming a mom And obviously wanting Joelle to experience Jesus for herself is being the most important thing to me. Like, I want her to experience who he really is and have that experience for herself. But also just wanting to share all of these really incredible movies that were honestly such a huge part of my life growing up and still are. And this just really incredible opportunity to watch these beautiful stories. And even if they're not quote unquote Christian movies, which they're not, I'm not suggesting they are, but you can't deny that there are things to pull out. At least they're so obvious to us, like things we can pull out of them to have really meaningful conversations. And so we'd be watching them, and before I knew this podcast would even be a thing, like suddenly we'd be watching them, and suddenly these aspects of God and of life with the Lord, it kind of popped out of the screen to me, and I saw like all these amazing opportunities to just have really good conversations with Joelle about life and about Jesus and about family and about just these really important things, and how Jesus uses anything to reveal himself to us. And that's really the point of it all, really, is just like Jesus using anything that we're passionate about to pursue us and reveal to us who he truly is. And in my case, I was having these like really deeply spiritual revelations, like Moana, and Frozen 2 and Encanto, having these really deeply spiritual revelations from the Lord while watching these Disney movies and crying and just realizing things about myself and about the Lord and about Jesus. And I was wondering, like, there's got to be a way to share this with my kids. Like, at that point, it was just something I wanted to share with Joelle and our future kids. Like, there's got to be a way to do this. And I won't give too much away right now because honestly, I want to have dedicated episodes for all of those to just kind of dive deeper and share some of those things that are on my heart. But some of the movies I watched and knew that I would want to dissect were Frozen 1 and Frozen 2, obviously, Encanto, Princess and the Frog, Toy Story 1, 2, 3, and 4. Mitchell kind of laughs at me because I don't even have to be hearing the end of Toy Story 4. I can just see it, or I can not be seeing it and just hear it, and it still makes me cry. Like, it's still emotional. Moana, obviously I've mentioned that one a lot. Cinderella, The Little Mermaid, animated and live action, because the live action one rocked me. As well as just talking about like Disney topics such as taking your kids to Disney and having that be a part of your family story, planning Disney trips. I hope to have some special guests in the planning world. We'll see. Us just like Mitchell and I just talking and geeking out about Disney and random things. Disney and social issues may touch a few hot topics. You never know. So really, we're just going to have fun with this podcast and just let it be something that we have, to share these meaningful conversations and meaningful things with our kids, but also sending it out there, obviously, into the world for you guys, our listeners, to really hopefully encourage you and maybe help you think about how, the Lord is using Disney, or if it's not Disney, using things you are passionate about to reveal himself to you. So that's just a little bit about me. I do want to just give one final disclaimer. One thing to note is that these things will all just be my opinion, right? So if you're a mom or a dad listening to this and looking for my opinion on these topics and movies, or looking for some sort of guidance in what's okay and what's not okay, or whatever that is for your children, I just want to be upfront right now and just let you know, like, these are just my opinions, right? These are my opinions. These are like revelations that I've had from the Lord. But I would just encourage you, like, for yourself, like, just using your own discernment, your own wisdom, and deciding what's best for your family. You can totally take my opinions and agree with them, but it also, like, I understand people will disagree with what I have to say, and that's fine. This podcast is really not supposed to be controversial. Not really interested in fighting or negativity in any way. This is supposed to be a positive thing that we're putting out there. But I just want you to know up front, like, these are just my opinions. These are just what one mama thinks, what one person thinks. So just really just want to put that out there, like, use your own discernment and have your own, beliefs and your own convictions about what you stand on in that. And just, this is just where I happen to share my opinions and revelations freely. So just want to put that out there. There's going to be so much, hopefully, that we're able to do in future episodes. I'm really excited to share these things with you. I'm really excited for my kids to grow up and have this. They're probably going to think, Mom, you're such a nerd doing a podcast. I hope podcasts are still cool when they're, grown, but we'll see. But I just wanted to do this episode to give you a little bit about me, where I come from, who I am. I really, really, really love Jesus, and I really love Disney. So this podcast is a perfect marriage of the two, perfectly imperfect marriage of the two, I'll say, because it's not perfect. But I'm excited to see what the future holds for this podcast, and be on the lookout for episode 2 with my husband, Mitchell, very soon. I'm really excited to have him on. I actually wanted to have him on for the first episode, but he suggested and insisted that I do the first one by myself to kind of introduce, and he's always the one pushing me out of my comfort zone. So I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I got to introduce this idea, this labor of love. This is something really near and dear to our hearts, obviously. So I'm really excited to put it out there. If you want to follow along the podcast, you could follow wherever you listen to podcasts, subscribe so you get the new episodes. We have an Instagram, and I'm doing my best with it, y'all, but I'm not a professional anyway. I told Mitchell, I said, we just have to be okay with being amateurs at all this. So bear with us as we learn, but I'm really excited about this journey, and episode 2 will be coming to you very soon with Mitchell. So thank you for being here. Thank you to everyone who's listening. Thank you to my friends who have supported this and pushed me to get it out there. My family who's eagerly awaiting it as well. So just really thankful that we're actually doing it. Can't believe we're actually doing it. We're sitting in my house recording a podcast. I'm actually kind of floored that it's actually happening, but here we are. So that's all I have for episode 1, but episode 2 coming to you soon. All right, bye. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. At the end of each episode, I have a little blessing, a pixie dust prayer, if you will, that I hope encourages you as you go about your day. May we lean into whatever it is that makes us come alive and makes us feel passionate and full of joy. May we believe in the unique perspective and gifts that we all have that are God-given. May we use our voices to speak up for the things that matter most to us. May we all have the courage to pursue our dreams, the perseverance to overcome obstacles, and the resilience to keep going when the going gets tough. May we look to Jesus in all things and see how he longs for us to know him, and he uses the things that we love to reveal more unique aspects of himself. And may we embrace who it is we truly are, and the beauty, creativity, and yes, magic that lives inside each of us. Thank you so much for tuning into the Faith Stuff and Pixie Dust podcast. I really hope this conversation brought some joy and inspiration to your day and caused you to stop and consider how Jesus is revealing himself to you through the things that you love, even Disney. No matter where you are at in your faith journey, you've got a friend in me here at Faith Stuff and Pixie Dust. See you soon. Bye.